Deep in the freezing Arctic, two geologists named Julia and Oscar are on a mission. They are setting up underwater explosives to study the ocean floor. The ice is everywhere. The wind is cold, but they are focused on their work. Suddenly, their radio crackles. A warning call comes through. A massive storm is on its way. They have to leave, right now. But Julia doesn't want to go. She wants to grab her research equipment first. She spent weeks collecting that data. She can't just leave it behind. Oscar doesn't wait for her to decide. He grabs her by the arm and pulls her toward the snowmobile. There is no time to argue. Deep under the icy water, not far away, a Russian submarine is on patrol. The crew is calm. Everything seems normal. But then, strange sounds start coming in through the sonar. High-pitched, loud, completely unknown. The officers look at each other with confusion on their faces. Then something even stranger happens. The seabed, the floor of the ocean, starts rising. The crew cannot believe what they are seeing on their screens. This should not be possible. On the surface, Julia's scanners suddenly go crazy. The numbers stop making sense. Alarms go off. And then, the ice begins to crack. Right under their feet, right around their camp. Huge, deep cracks splitting through the frozen ground like broken glass. Oscar pushes Julia onto the snowmobile. They race across the ice as fast as they can. But the cracks are spreading fast. Too fast. Suddenly the ice cracks appear ahead of them too. There is no safe path. The rising ice pushes the snowmobile sideways. Both of them are thrown off. They roll across the ice. The snowmobile spins, tips over, and explodes. It sinks into the freezing water below. Behind them, their entire camp is going up in flames. Explosions ring out one after another. The other scientists at the camp, they don't make it. They slowly sink into the dark, icy water. It is terrifying. It is tragic. And it is only the beginning. Below the surface, the Russian submarine is taking hit after hit. The entire vessel shakes violently. Men are thrown from their seats. Equipment crashes to the floor. The crew fights back. They fire weapons into the darkness. And when the light from the explosions briefly fills the water, they see it. Huge tentacles. Massive. Dark. Moving through the water with terrifying speed. One man is sent flying straight through a glass screen. He hits the floor and doesn't get up. Another officer, working quickly despite the chaos, manages to launch the emergency buoy before the submarine goes down. Then, silence. The submarine sinks into the deep. Back in Russia, military headquarters receives the terrible news. One of their submarines has disappeared without a trace, and this was no ordinary vessel. It was carrying extremely important weapons. Weapons that cannot fall into the wrong hands. A rescue mission is launched immediately. The man chosen to lead this mission is Victor, the brother of the missing submarine's captain. His family is worried sick. Before he leaves, his mother presses something into his hand. It is their father's old watch, a good luck charm, a reminder of where he came from. That night, Victor arrives at the docks. He is surprised to find an old admiral named Oshinsky already there. The admiral is coming on the mission too. Victor's first mate is not happy about this. Oshinsky is old. He is stubborn. He is difficult to work with. This mission does not need those kinds of problems. When Victor boards the submarine, he finds the crew already complaining. Most of them were pulled away from their holidays without warning. They are frustrated, and they are not hiding it. Meanwhile, Julia and Oscar are wandering through a brutal snowstorm. No shelter, no food, no way to call for help. Julia is trying to get a signal on her phone. She stares at the screen so hard that she almost walks right off the edge of a cliff. Oscar catches her just in time, pulling her back from the darkness below. A few moments later, her phone picks up a weak signal. It is coming from a nearby oil rig. She calls. But the storm is too loud. The howling wind drowns out her voice. The people at the oil rig can hear someone calling, but they cannot understand a word she is saying. The signal dies. Oscar raises his flare gun to the sky and fires one last shot. A bright red light bursts through the gray storm clouds. Then he collapses from exhaustion. The next morning, Victor's submarine arrives at the location where the other submarine was last seen. After long and careful preparations, they dive below the surface. Rumors start spreading through the crew. People are scared. Word of what happened to the first submarine is getting around. Victor notices something. Admiral Oshinsky takes him and the senior officers into a private room. He hands them a report. After reading it, every single face in that room looks deeply troubled. No one says what is in that report, but everyone looks like they wish they hadn't read it. Back in the Arctic, Julia and Oscar make a surprising discovery. Sticking out of the ice is the emergency buoy, the same one launched by the sunken submarine before it went down. They realize immediately what this means. Someone will come looking for this buoy. If they stay here, they might be rescued. They stop wandering. They wait. Inside Victor's submarine, the crew picks up the buoy's signal and immediately changes direction toward it. As the submarine moves through the water, a large group of whales suddenly surrounds them. The crew slows down carefully, trying not to harm any of the animals, but one whale accidentally bumps against a part of the submarine. Admiral Oshinsky makes a quick decision. Turn on the sonar. Victor objects, worried it will hurt the whales. Oshinsky ignores him. The sonar turns on. The whales swim away, but then they come back. Before anyone can figure out why, something else happens. A deep, low-frequency sound fills the water. The seabed starts rising again, just like before. Then, in the darkness of the deep water, something enormous moves. A single tentacle swings through the water with terrifying power. It strikes a whale with one blow. The whale is dead instantly. The submarine's radar lights up. Something huge is coming toward them. Admiral Oshinsky wants to open fire. Victor tells him no. They don't know what they're dealing with. Running is smarter. Victor orders the submarine into a crack in the ice wall. It is a tight fit. Every time the ice shifts, it smashes against the hull. Alarms ring. The noise in the headphones becomes unbearable for the sonar operator. And then, their pursuer is gone. The crew breathes again. Oshinsky scolds Victor for what he calls an unnecessary risk. Victor says nothing. He orders the submarine to surface so they can make repairs. On the frozen surface, Julia and Oscar are huddled against a rock trying to stay warm. They have almost given up hope. Then the ice begins to crack in front of them. Not from danger this time, but from the submarine rising up through it. The crew comes out to investigate. They find the two survivors. After checking that they are not armed, they listen to their story. Victor checks the buoy. Then he goes to speak with Oshinsky. Oshinsky tells him coldly, give them some food and leave them behind. They could be spies. Victor makes a different choice. He brings them aboard. Back underwater, Victor sits with Julia and Oscar at a table. He shows them a map and asks them to mark where their camp was. He wants to know if they saw anything unusual. When Julia tells him about the underwater explosives her team set off, Victor's face hardens. He now believes he knows what sank his brother's submarine. The crew debates what to do next. Oshinsky says they should turn around. Whatever is out there, they cannot fight it. If it attacks again, they won't be able to send a distress signal. Victor refuses. His brother might still be alive. He orders the submarine toward the location of Julia's former camp. Oshinsky pulls Victor aside with a warning. This is the second wrong decision he has made. One more, and he will take over command. Victor then quietly explains to his first mate the real reason they are rushing. If there are survivors on the other submarine, they are running out of oxygen. Every minute counts. Julia hears a strange sound. Oscar explains it is the sonar scanning for the missing submarine. The search goes on. Then the radar picks something up. The unknown threat is back, and it is heading straight for them. No hiding place here. Open water in every direction. Victor decides to send an emergency signal to the nearby oil rig. They get permission. The submarine starts preparing to surface, but at the rig, workers see something rising from the sea. Giant tentacles as tall as buildings erupting from the water. Alarms blast through the rig. The tentacles slam down on the structures. Explosions tear through metal and glass. Workers run in every direction. There is nowhere to go. The rig collapses. The submarine loses radio contact. Victor uses the periscope to look. What he sees fills him with horror. He puts the image on the crew's screen so everyone can see. A Kraken. A real, living Kraken. Once the rig is nothing but wreckage and smoke, the monster turns its attention back to the submarine. The submarine makes a sharp turn to escape. Everything in the kitchen flies off the shelves. Crew members grab onto anything they can. Oshinsky has had enough. He announces that Victor's refusal to attack is his third mistake. He takes over command. 2 torpedoes are fired. Both hit. A huge explosion in the water. Oshinsky smiles. This is how it is done. But then an officer reports the target is still moving. More torpedoes. More explosions. Still not enough. The Kraken is still coming. Oshinsky freezes. He does not know what to do. Victor steps back in. He pushes the submarine to its maximum speed. They dodge most of the attack, but the tentacle still brushes the side of the vessel. The impact is devastating. The entire crew is thrown to the floor. Victor hits his head. The lights flicker. Computers short-circuit. One computer panel falls and crushes a crew member beneath it. The submarine begins to sink. The Kraken takes advantage. It hits again. An explosion rips through the torpedo compartment. Fire breaks out. The ventilation is cut and the compartment is sealed. 7 men are trapped inside, fighting the flames with fire extinguishers. Another hit. The submarine sinks faster. The radar shows the Kraken surrounding them from all sides. There are no torpedoes left. The crew searches for ideas. Victor remembers something. Sea creatures hunt by sound. He orders complete silence mode. The men fighting the fire have to stop. Without ventilation, carbon monoxide begins building up in the sealed compartment. The men inside can barely breathe. They wonder if they are going to die there. Then, the Kraken swims away. Victor's plan worked. The men can move again, but the fire in the torpedo compartment has grown too big. Victor orders everyone out. The crew inside races for the door, helping their injured crew members through. The door slams shut just in time. By controlling the pressure inside the compartment, they finally put out the fire. The injured are taken to the infirmary. Everyone else begins repairs. Julia and Oscar help treat the wounded. Working side by side with the crew, they slowly earn their trust. Julia carefully cleans a cut on Victor's forehead. An officer watching them jokes that she seems to like him. Julia denies it. The officer smiles and tells her Victor broke the rules to save her. She should know that. Later, Victor asks the crew honestly, what do they think they should do? The answer is clear. They have no idea where the other submarine is. They have no weapons left. They need to go home. An officer reminds Victor of something important. His father was a hero once. He saved lives during a submarine disaster, but he gave his own life to do it. Victor thinks about that for a long time. Then he agrees. They will turn back. As the submarine heads home, Victor sits alone reading the last letter his father ever wrote him. Julia comes to find him. She notices 2 small birds in a cage in his room. He explains, the birds monitor oxygen levels. Old technology, still reliable. Julia asks for a map. She marks every location where they have seen the Kraken. She marks her old camp. Then she tells Victor what she knows. According to ancient stories, the Kraken once attacked ships across the entire ocean. Then suddenly, it stopped. Scholars believed it went into a deep sleep, hidden far beneath the ocean floor. Julia's explosives hit a hidden geological layer. They woke it up. If they want to stay safe, they must turn off the sonar. The sound is attracting the creature. Victor asks her the important question. If the Kraken drags its prey back to its lair, where would the lair be? Julia points to the map, right where her camp used to be. At that moment, an officer rushes in. During the silence period, someone recorded a sound, a faint knocking on metal. The signal is tracked. It is coming from Julia's camp location. There may be survivors. Victor stands up. He gives a speech to the crew about the value of human life and the dangers ahead. Then he orders the submarine back toward Julia's camp. On the way, Victor drifts into memory. He thinks about being a child, lost in the mountains, the fear, the cold, the relief when someone finally found him. He snaps back to reality as they reach the search zone. Then rivets start shooting off the walls. Screws pop out of machines. Glass cracks. They are too deep. The pressure is crushing them. They pull up slightly, and then they find it, a massive bottomless abyss, dropping down into complete darkness. Victor decides to send the mini-submarine down to investigate. One of the usual pilots is injured, so Victor volunteers to go himself. He leaves Oshinsky in charge of the main vessel. The mini-submarine descends. The hull creaks under the pressure. Every sound feels like a warning. If they don't find something soon, they will have to turn back. Then they hear an echo. They follow it, and what they find takes their breath away. Hundreds of sunken ships, wrecks from across centuries of ocean history. Julia's theory was right. The myths were real. And there, in the middle of it all, the missing submarine. The vessel is badly damaged, but the front section, the nose, is still intact. Victor guides the mini-submarine to dock on top of the wreck. The currents are brutal. It takes everything they have, but they manage to connect. Victor puts on his diving gear and crosses over. He knocks on the hatch. It opens. His brother Alexander is alive. His crew is alive. Victor can barely speak. News is sent back to the main submarine. The crew erupts in celebration. Alexander explains how they survived. He kept everything in silent mode. He sent out a signal only every few hours, just enough to hope someone might find them. Victor starts sending survivors into the mini-submarine, but it cannot hold everyone in one trip. He decides to stay with his brother. A mechanic will pilot the first group back. Before the mini-submarine leaves, they install a tracker so they can find the location again. But they quickly realize the tracker might attract the Kraken. They turn it off. The mini-submarine takes off. The old wreck shakes and groans, but holds. Back on the main submarine, the Kraken begins moving again. The crew rushes to land on the seabed and enter silent mode. The Kraken pushes a massive rock into the submarine. Rivets fly again. Water starts flooding into a compartment. The crew knows they cannot stay silent for much longer. In the wreck below, Victor and Alexander go to find the weapons their superiors ordered them to retrieve. They find the codes locked in a safe. The computer won't respond at first. Victor tries everything. Finally, it turns on. The weapons are still operational. The mini-submarine picks up the electromagnetic signal and starts following it back toward the wreck. While docking, they accidentally hit the tracker and turn it on. The Kraken immediately senses it. It turns away from the main submarine and heads back toward its lair. Oshinsky sees the opening and orders the main submarine toward the surface immediately. In the torpedo room of the damaged submarine, Victor crawls through broken pipes to reach the weapons. Alexander works the computer from another section. They enter the codes together. The weapons begin loading, but it will take time. The Kraken finds them again. Tentacles wrap around the submarine. The crew braces for impact. Victor and Alexander talk on the radio. They apologize for old arguments, old fights between brothers that no longer matter. A tentacle tears off the back half of the submarine, but it is the empty section. They are still alive. When the Kraken moves in for the final attack, the brothers act together. At exactly the same moment, they both press their buttons. The weapon fires. A massive explosion tears through the water. Heat and light and energy rip into the Kraken. The creature explodes in a burst of light so powerful it breaks through the Arctic ice above, a beam of pure light shooting all the way up into the atmosphere. The Kraken is dead. Water pours into the submarine. Victor fights his way back through the pipes toward his brother. The weapons are set to self-destruct. They have 2 minutes. They run. Strong waves crash through the corridors. The brothers are separated. Victor searches desperately. Then he sees a hand reaching up through the water. He grabs it. He pulls. Alexander comes up gasping. They run for the stairs. They climb. They throw themselves into the mini-submarine and pull the hatch closed, just as the water rushes in behind them. 60 seconds left. The mini-submarine will not undock. The mechanism is stuck. The wreckage is starting to fall into the abyss. Victor remembers. The emergency lever. He pulls it hard. The submarine breaks free. They shoot upward through the water. Behind them, the weapons explode. The shockwave hits like a wall. The mini-submarine tumbles and spins through the deep. On the surface, Victor's crew is waiting, staring at the water, hoping. The hope is almost gone. Then bubbles rise to the surface. And then, the mini-submarine breaks through the water. Cheers, tears, relief, like no one has ever felt before. Victor tries to give Alexander their father's watch. It belongs to him, Victor says. He is the older brother. He is the captain. Alexander closes Victor's hand around it. Keep it, he says. You earned it. Sometime later, the submarine pulls into the harbor in Russia. The brothers step out onto solid ground. Their family is waiting. Their mother sees them both walking toward her, alive, together. For the first time in a long time, everything is going to be okay.